The causes of the American Revolution. Salutary neglect ended with the proclamation of 1763. The proclamation of 1763 was put on us by the British, and it said that the colonists couldn't go west of the Appalachian Mountains, and we didn't really like this because it made us start to feel boxed in. The Sugar Act was the first act to be put on us, and it said that all colonists had to pay a tax when they bought sugar products, but it was pretty hard to enforce. The Stamp Act required that the colonists pay a tax on most paper in the colonies, and we didn't really like this, so we made the Stamp Act Congress. And the Stamp Act Congress wrote the Declaration of Rights and Grievances, which we sent over to the king, but he would neither read it or see it. And he did this because he didn't want to validate our concerns and problems. This is a political cartoon protesting the Stamp Act, and it was written by T. Paine, aka Thomas Paine. The Quartering Act was a little bit of a bigger one. It said that the colonists had to house British soldiers and feed them, and this act would make the tension start to rise in the colonies. The Quartering Act would lead to the Boston Massacre, which happened on March 5th, 1770. 5 colonists were killed during this, and it wasn't really much of a massacre, considering only 5 people got killed. So it was made out to be a bigger deal than it was. This political cartoon right here kind of shows that, how it was made out to be a bigger deal. It shows the British just firing on the innocent civilians when really they were antagonized by the colonists to be fired on.
The Gaspee Affair. This really changed the fighting tactics in the colonies. What we did was we lowered the Gaspee ship into low waters, and we ransacked and burned the ship to the ground. The Tea Act. Colonists were only allowed to buy East India Company tea. This was very cheap because they had a bunch of tea in the colonies. This led to a revolt against monopoly on tea. Boston Tea Party. The colonists, they dressed as Indians and dumped British tea into the harbor. This showed that the colonists would not tolerate unfair taxes. Intolerable Acts. This act closed the Boston port and reinstated the Quartering Act, the Quebec Act, which basically boxed in the colonies even more. This also sent British officials back to England when they broke the law to be tried. This is a map. This basically shows how the colonists were being boxed in because of the proclamation line and the Quebec Act. The olive branch tradition. This was adopted by the Continental Congress. This was sent to the king to try to avoid all-out war. After the king did not respond, the colonies went on to declare independence from Britain. Patrick Henry. He was with Paul Revere when the British were coming, so say, and he also gave the "Give Me Liberty" or "Give Me Death" speech in the House of Burgesses in March 23rd, 1775.
Bunker Hill was a battle during the Revolutionary War that the colonists lost, but they had the high ground, so 40% of the redcoats had died, and it inspired the colonists because of the heavy British casualties. King George brought 18,000 Hessians into America to help fight against the colonists, and this changed the war from a family feud to an all-out war. Thomas Paine wrote a document called Common Sense, and he published facts about the British tyranny, and it converted some of the borderline loyalists into patriots. Thomas Jefferson, he helped write the Declaration of Independence, and he drafted the Olive Branch Petition. He was a leader of the Sons of Liberty and was a very influential person during this time because he was a wealthy landowning white man. The Declaration of Independence told King George of all our issues with Britain and our reasoning for wanting independence. It was written by Thomas Jefferson and was signed by the influential people during the time in the colonies. Citations.